Okay, and good Monday to all y'all out there in the internet land. And this is Jerry Hinkle with This Is My Life, Chapter 3. My goodness, we're on Chapter 3 already. Well, we skipped last week because we ran a little long. I'm going to try to prevent that. New sponsor, we got a little jingle here for Mashana McKee and Heckin Libel from Fort Pierce's most well-run welding establishment, Rube's Welding. Rube's gone, but his tradition still goes on, and so, of course, we're not being sponsored by Rube, so that kind of what. But like I say, real good. At least they better be, you know. Anyhow, brought to you by High C Drink Mix. Well, Coca-Cola owns this, by the way, and recently the McDonald's they took out the High C and they brought us Fanta orange soda. I don't know why they did that. High C is perfectly good, and to show you how good it is, I got a little song for you. I see it tastes so wonderfully, and all that vitamin C. Shooby-doo-bah, you're gonna love High C. And I did love High C. And McDonald's should bring it back. I ain't gonna boycott McDonald's or anything like that, because, well, you know, I already boycott Burger King, so I don't know what to do. Just a little, I'm a little disappointed about that. Okay, that ends the commercial part of our broadcast day. Let's get back to Chapter 3 of my autobiography. This is My Life. I love that title. Okay, well, we're going to kind of go into a couple different directions here. For one thing, I watched Chapter 2, rather. Well, I've watched both of them, but I watched Chapter 2. It took me 2 weeks. That's why we skipped last week. Okay, and, well, anyhow, I think I may have made a mistake. I didn't go back and watch it again because I didn't want to waste the time. But I could have swore that I may have misspoke in the previous chapter when I said that I spent 4 years at Valley School, and I spent 2 years in Holabird School, and 2 years, I think I said Valley School again. That was Franklin School, though. Franklin. And, of course, that's where I met Shanna, where she became the best-looking girl in the 7th grade. Yes, that's right. Be sure. Now, Shanna, if you're watching this far into the program, be sure your husband knows that you were the best-looking girl in the 7th grade. Of course, I was the best-looking fella, and, of course, I didn't have a whole lot of competition on that, being the only. I was also the ugliest kid in the 7th grade, but that's okay. Anyhow, he probably already knows that. Anyhow, and one of her daughters is Miss January for something, I don't know. And why are we talking about those people? We're supposed to be talking about me. This is my autobiography. Anyhow, yes. And so, yeah, Miss Shanna and her sister Laura were also, they attended Franklin School for a year, I think it was. I think it was, I don't know it was the 7th grade, because I think we were yeah, they went somewhere else on the 8th, for the 8th grade, I think. I don't know. But isn't it wonderful? And, you know, it was the internet that reconnected us there. And she's a swell kid. Oh, well, of course she has to be. And, of course, she married into a good family. I have heard wonderful things about Rube and Bonnie. And, well, of course, Kate, well, went to our, that is, her Grandma Kate went to, that is, Brad's grandma Kate went to the Methodist Church in Highmore, and she was a sweet lady, and well, she probably still is if she's alive. But okay, we're we're 5 minutes into the show, and we haven't even got to the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk about. Well, anyhow, so like I say, so 4 years. I was 4 years at the Valley Township School, and 2 years at the city school in Oliver before they closed that one down, and then 2 more years at Franklin. And we'll talk about Franklin later on if we have time, which we probably won't. But yes, yeah. During the fall, after I graduated from the 4th grade, there, sometime during that summer, they decided. Well, it was kind of decided for us, but see. Well, when I was in the 3rd grade, the Beestroms moved to town, and so going to Valley School was not an option for them. And when the Beestrom family left, they took half of the enrollment with them. Half the kids in Valley Township left when they did, because my brothers and I were the other half. And of course we had Kim Kindop in Spring Lake. Peggy Joe went to high school. They taught her all they could at Valley. She had to go on to high school and learn some more. I wonder whatever happened to Peggy Joe. Any of y'all know? That's what the comments is for. Is to see the comments, which have been empty here lately, because all y'all that know stuff that I don't have to tell me. That's how it works. So they left when I was there. So it was just the 3 of us, my brothers and I, and Kim Kindop, who come in from Spring Lake. Well, about that time, Chuck and Velta decided that they want to move into town, and so they moved out. And Chuck's son Larry, who was Kim's older brother, moved in. And they had, at that time, I believe they only had one school-age child, Jamie, also known as James, who went on to become a championship wrestler, but that's, and I don't know what he's doing now. I got him on Facebook, but he don't talk much. Anyhow, that's what I like about him. He don't talk too much. I don't know if he listens, but he just don't talk. So, my parents was hoping to talk Larry and Sharon into having Jamie come on over to Valley School with us, but they decided to send him on to Franklin. Well, we wasn't sure we wanted to go all the way over there, because that was halfway to Gettysburg. So we decided they decided rather, Mom and Dad did, to send us to Hollywood School. And that's where that's where I started 5th grade, and that's where we met. Well, Melody Asby, who, well, we won't talk about what happened to her, but she was a member of the Western Wranglers 4-H club, same as the rest of them. I joined that when I was in about the 1st or 2nd grade, so I kind of, I knew Melody and Michael, and I knew David a little bit. Not much, just a little bit. So I got to know him better when he got married to Beth, but that's, that's how it happened. Anyhow, so we're in Hollywood School. It was a little different kind of a setup there because, it wasn't really. It was the fact it was a city school, but it was something like the rural school, because we were all in the same classroom. There was all kinds of. One thing about it, when it got cold outside, we was able to have recess indoors. Pretty much like the country school. But in the 6th grade, our teacher, Mrs. Mulhare, she wasn't. No, had to go outside for recess because that's the way they did it in the big city. She came from Sioux Falls. She brought them big city ideas with her, and those big city ideas in Sioux Falls don't always work in Hollenberg. But so and then she got pregnant and she had maternity leave, and then we never saw her after that. So anyhow, but yeah, Melody Asby, and then they got, Steve Peterson was also a member of the Western Wranglers 4-H Club, now that I think on it. So I guess I did know Steve before that, and he's a nice fella. And his cousin Sam Dancy, who I'm now, an ordinary man would tell you that Sam Dancy got me into trouble, but I'm going to take responsibility for, it wasn't Sam's fault. I was the one that got me into trouble. It wasn't, I just, I listened to Sam, and I did what I did because I wanted to do it. It wasn't, Sam didn't hold a gun to my head and cause me any of that trouble. It was all my doing. And something, he done growed up, and he's become a semi-respectable citizen there. I haven't heard that he's gone to jail. So he must be a good, I'm nearly 50, so he's way on up yonder. So, and I never heard that he got married, but I did hear that he became a father. Now I don't know if that's a fact, and if I'm wrong, you put all the right information in the comments. They're just like, oh, okay. So, school days. We're gonna the name of this chapter is gonna be School Days, Chapter 3, School Days, and we're gonna talk about pets too. Okay, so that's, and Sam, he did this thing about Raymond J. Johnson Jr. He did the Raymond J. Johnson Jr. before I saw it on. I did not know who the guy. Apparently, he was on a beer commercial. That's Raymond J. Johnson Jr. And I recently looked that up on the YouTube, and he was a funny fella. I should say he is a funny fella. He's still alive. He doesn't do Raymond J. Johnson Jr. Very much. He does not do the. He doesn't do that whole, you can call me Ray, or you can call me Jay, or you can call me Sonny, or you can call me Junie. He does. Well, of course, he sits on a beanbag full of money and takes it out whenever he gets the notion for a hamburger and a chocolate shake. That's all. And that's good. An actor, this actor needs a character like that he can bank on. But why are we talking about Raymond J. Johnson Jr.? Let's get back to me. Okay, so we did a little Christmas show. He was Raymond J. Johnson Jr. in the Christmas show. Sam was, and I was E.F. Hutton. that was funny stuff, right? That was our own little. We all come up with that on our own. All us kids did, and Cindy Marshall played the fox. He was a foxy lady, kind of a musical something or other. It was kind of back then. It was. There's a whole lot of people that were like the fox back now, but back then there wasn't. She was, as they say, she was into the music scene. So let's see. And then I can't remember who but we had Steve Dennis and Lori Klepsch. I can't ignore Lori Klepsch at all, because you never know. So she's got a lot of, a nice Catholic girl like Lori Klepsch, who of course married to Mr. Ryan, whose name I cannot recall his first name. But they got a lot of relatives, so one of them might be listening in. So I want to be sure that I remember they let her drink chocolate milk. Oh, I don't know I don't know who her family had to pay to let her do that, but I remember, funny thing, well, of course, she got to, and I didn't. That's how I remember that. She was a nice kid. All kids was nice kids. You know, after you got to know. And of course, there was that. I mean, we were the new kids on the block. My brother Doug, Darrell, and I, we were all new. It was kind of a scary thing. Because here we are, and because all I knew was Valley School, and then, of course, I didn't know Valley School. But, okay, so, and I don't remember too much other than that. There was a rally day, and there wasn't much as far as rally day. I don't think we had a rally, and so. One thing I will mention, even though it's not about me, the school, that's the school building that isn't being used for education purposes anymore. That is where maybe it isn't, but there was the school building. Yeah, would have had to be, well, this would have been 1893. One of the Wright brothers, possibly both of them, taught school in Hollywood, or they operated a bicycle shop. I can't remember. That's all part of the folklore that is Hollywood. But they did live there. That is, they had relatives, and there was an old lady who wrote about it in the Heritage, the Hyde Heritage, back in 1977. She was a little girl at the time. Of course, this would have been, 80 years ago, back in 1870 or 1893, when all that took place. So she was alive back then. She actually, shook hands with him and all that jazz. Okay, well, that's pretty much all. We're gonna talk about that, and well, I guess we can talk a little bit about Franklin now. The fact is, that was a different deal altogether. They closed down Hollywood School, so we had to go to Franklin. It was pretty much, but the thing about that is, there was a pretty good enrollment, and we weren't the youngest kids there. Now there was, so I was in the 5th grade when we started in Hollywood. Doug and Darrell was in the 4th grade. We go over there. I was in the 7th grade. They was in the 6th grade. And oh boy, and well, that's Shanna was part of that, and Laura, her sister, was in there, and there was the Bowens. Cindy was in the 8th grade when he was in the 7th grade, and Tina was in the 7th grade. She was Cindy's sister. Rob, I think he was in the 3rd grade, something like that. It's in 3rd grade, and then 4th grade. Yeah, that's right, because they carried over into the, and of course Cindy went to Gettysburg to high school because that was closer for them. Because we was already halfway to Gettysburg when we got up to Franklin School. Anyhow. So, and of course the Kindops. There was Jamie, and they had a little brother, Justin, and we kind of carpooled back and forth there. That was kind of convenient. And then Cliff Cadman's youngest daughter, Tanya, she was in the 2nd grade when I was in the 7th grade. So good for that food. And and the Harvey kids. There was Corey, Chad, and Tammy. I think, yeah, that was. They had a little brother named Toby who visited once, and so that was it was kind of an interesting situation. Okay, well, and we did. We had an actual school picnic that summer, and out over, I don't know, it was not too far from Franklin School, and was, over and around back by, it was in Sully County, I believe. I can't remember. See, it's a good thing I'm talking about it now, because I might forget all about it totally there. I can kind of relate to, he's talking in chapter 1 about how Granddad would say something, and, well, no, then he'd forget that he said that, and then he would reverse himself. And so memory is a tricky thing. Even, of course, I'm only 49, almost 50, and he was about 100 years old when we started. Well, he's maybe even younger than that, but it was one of those things where you gotta sometimes, and getting Granddad in a talkative mood where he wanted to talk about that kind of thing. He was kind of like, because I was looking for juicy stuff, and it wasn't. Granddad he didn't have a very exciting life. It was just he was a good Methodist. He behaved himself and did all that kind of stuff like that. And I can tell we're going to go into a whole half an hour here. But anyhow, some of the highlights at Franklin School, we had to do our first year, I think it was, Mrs. Myers was pregnant. She was flip-it-flap-floop. She was on my 7th grade year. She was pregnant. So she was due in like December, I think, or something like that. But we couldn't have a Christmas program because she was, about to give birth. She was about to give birth to her daughter Rachel at the time. So we did a Halloween pageant instead of a Christmas pageant, and I was the black cat. I tried to do the finicky Morris, 9 lives, you don't know what you're missing, or whatever it was. But for some reason that I couldn't register across the hall, so I had to use my regular voice. Anyhow, that's and we did the Christmas thing, and I was Pastor Moore, the author of Silent Night in the Christmas pageant on my 8th grade year. That was pretty decent. Rob Bowen was Franz Gruber, the fella who set it to music. And of course he's not an actual musician, just like I wasn't an actual country preacher. It was all acting. We did a great job, and I always brought Silent Night to life to hear that. So, okay, well that's all for the school days. I'll review this and make any additions or corrections in the next thing, and we'll be talking about my high school years, moving right on. Wanted to talk a little bit about some of the some of the pets we had growing up. Of course, when I was a boy, my very first pet was, every boy needs a dog, and I always thought that it was Uncle Butch, but it was Uncle Gaylord. Uncle Butch, of course, my mother's brother, who was around back in 1967, but he didn't. But my grandma's brother, Uncle Gaylord, what a wonderful fella he was, gave us a German Shepherd dog named Goober, and he must have been a Norwegian Shepherd, actually, now that I think of it. But, well, that's okay. We need not go. We need not discuss that. Okay, so, but he was and I don't know, in a strange set of circumstances, my dad accidentally ran over Goober and things like that. See, Goober was a character in the Mayberry RFD show. He was Gomer's cousin, and he did voices. You know, he Judy, and well, he was also in Mayberry too. This would have been Mayberry because RFD, the Mayberry, Andy Griffith stopped in 1968, and then Mayberry RFD took over after that for a couple years until CBS decided that they needed some city programming, and we need not discuss that because we're talking about pets. Anyhow, so Goober, he was a fair. I don't remember, he never bit me. I don't know, he might have bit somebody. He never bit the mailman because the mailman didn't even come close enough to Goober to do that. But yeah, he was, so I don't have very many memories of Goober, but what I do remember was nice. Then we had a dog named Lady, who we got from Marion and Fern Vandenberg, and she was okay. She had this propensity for having babies, which, you know, I at the time, you know, I knew I did not realize that you needed male help in order to do that back then. So, you know, she just hadn't started having babies, and you know, apparently some neighborhood dog was able to, when she was in heat, he was able, I don't know if there was like a coyote or a wolf or something that would come along and made these babies or not. But anyhow, well, we couldn't raise, it wasn't purebred border collies anyhow. But we had one litter, and it was all male, and it gave them away. And then there was another they had, I think she had 2 litters, if I remember correctly. I remember there was a Daryl dog, and there was a big dog, and there was, I named one, of course. And this dog, the dog that I got to name, to me, he looked like these seashells by the seashore that they had in San Diego that Grandma and Granddad would bring back from San Diego. So I called him Seashell, and that was a hard thing to say, so we shortened it to Shell. Every once in a while Dad would call him Goober, so I guess, you know, poor dog didn't know his right name. I called him Dog toward the end. Come on, Dog. And so it was, because I realized the older I got, what a stupid name that was to give a dog. But you know, he never held it against me. No. He don't. I don't think he barked at me quite a bit. He might have snipped at me. He never did bite me. Not UPS. What the heck? Oh, the Schwann's man claimed that but I maintain it was Precious. Let's rewind. Precious was, see, remember I talked about the Ziltner family. They were neighbors of ours, and they moved. They retired. They sold out, and they were moving, and they moved to Huron to be with their daughter Ann, who was married to Buzz Engel, the Iceman, at the time. I don't know what they're doing now. I hope they're doing well. We stayed in their lot whenever we went to the state fair, and they was nice folks, as far as I know. I don't know Ann that one, but Buzz Engel, he's a nice fellow. And I hope he still is. So, thanks a lot, y'all, for all that hospitality and whatnot. Anyhow, so X and Dolores, they moved over to Huron, and they had a baby kitten that apparently was orphaned somehow. It was just all by itself, and she was worried about that. So my mother brought it home, and we thought of all kind of names. I kind of thought of a couple of names that weren't all that spectacular, and we won't even go into that discussion. Anyhow, and we're going to go past the half an hour mark, I see. Anyhow, so yeah, we got Precious was the name come about. We was watching 60 Minutes, and they was doing a story about a young lady who was in prison, and she happened to be of the African American persuasion, but that's neither here nor there. Somehow she was either pregnant before she went to jail, or she got pregnant after she went to jail. And I don't know how she did that. I know now that she had male help, because that's just, you gotta see all that before, with Lady and the litters of puppies. That was before my 7th grade science book, where I was reading all about that in the 7th grade science book. So I knew all about that in the 7th grade science book. And after, okay, well, that's interesting. Anyhow, so she had a baby girl. She named the baby girl Precious. So that's Dad decided he's going to name Cat Precious, and the name stuck. This was about 1978 or so. And she was with us for 12 years, and there was some wild animal got her, and we was just, and she had come up missing, and we had no idea. She did, just before we was getting ready to go to Oahe, to the campground, number 2 or 1, 2, or 3. And then she'd come along, and she was a bloody old mess, and boy, old Dad, it broke his heart to do it, but he just says, well, whatever. And so we left, and then, I don't know if we ever did see her after that, but we kind of knew what happened. She was a big old bloody mess, like I say, and that was 4th of July of 1990, so that was, a good 12 years. And of course, no chronicle of the pets we had would be complete without Lassie. Our last, so far the last dog that my parent, my dad, that was Dad's dog. It was his, someone from Harold, I think, had given away, and the first dog, for some reason, it just didn't appeal. We tried to surprise Dad with a puppy, and we got a surprise that he didn't want that puppy. So they went over to Harold, where the dogs were raised, and he got another dog. So, and this one, it was the only difference I could tell, because we had photographs, and so, we took pictures of the first dog, because we was expecting it to be this wonderful, joyous miracle kind of a surprise, and it turned out that he, so that was kind of but the Lassie we ended up getting had a Segway on her back. And of course that brings up the old joke about my mother says, well, what? Oh, she has a Segway on her back. And my mother says, what's a Segway? And it's about 2 pounds. My goodness. Laughing so hard I had to choke on that. But my mother, she still didn't get the joke. I don't know why I thought that was so funny, but it was funny to me. Anyhow, so of course Lassie was an actual collie. Come on, Lassie. Yes, well, and boy, we had a lot of fun with Lassie. Those of us that were able to, and I'm not exactly sure what went wrong with Lassie, but she got real sick. And that's all I'm going to say about that. except to say that Shells, we'll backtrack to Shells, he was born in that litter. There was actually there was two dogs in that litter. There was Shells and then another dog, and then and then they ran away and never did come back. But Shells stayed with us because I fed Shells real good, and so he didn't run away. There was for some reason Lady and the other dog, they was always over to Henry Single's looking for something. I don't know if Henry had a dog or what the deal was, but so maybe, you suppose. Well, anyhow, but I don't know, someday they just ran heading over to Henry and Sadie's, and they didn't make it, and they never did come back, and nobody ever saw them after that. Okay. And so we had Shells, as it was Thanksgiving of 1975 was when he was born, and let's see, it was about and I continuing on with the Hinkle family tradition of running over your dog. I run over Shell back in it was the silage cutting season of 1988. Yes, so he was 13 years old. Unlucky for some, unlucky for him, so. And that's what, 70. That was 98 for you and I. No, we need not to go into that. But yes, so that's so that was, and of course we had other, pets that for various names, and but I don't really, I can't really tell you too much about any of them. Oh, there was one that was a descendant of Precious. Precious had kittens. I don't know, like I say, she had male help. I don't know who the male help was, but he was a yellow cat, just like I looked it up in a book, and for years we could figure out Precious was a tabby cat, kind of like Garfield, except Precious didn't eat lasagna. She was quite an attack cat, though. Oh boy, was she an attack cat. Anyhow, this Tom, I got another story. I got one story to tell about Precious, but Tom, one of her kids, and when he got to where he was getting old, and old granddad, he just loved that old Tom, but Tom come up missing. Well, it turned out that my parents was unloading some stuff from the van from one of their shopping trips, to Christmas shopping trips, and they left something in the van. It was a surprise for somebody, and unbeknownst to them, Tom got in the van, and so they shut up the van, drove it in the garage, shut the door, and didn't give a second thought to the van for the next 2 or 3 days. Open up the van, there's the cat jumps out before they get to the surprise birthday present on that Christmas Eve, and that would have been about 94, I believe. Anyhow, so we're getting way ahead of ourselves. We'll backtrack now. Now, Precious, like I said, she was an attack cat. She attacked Elmer. That's Bonnie's first husband, and we won't talk too much about him because You know, other to say he was a real nice fella. You know, of course, I didn't have to live with him, so either. But yeah, I guess, you know, we all have. I'm not easy to live with either. I'm not sure I could live with myself. Well, no. Anyhow, but Precious attacked Elmer, bit attacked Henry Single, and I still maintain that Precious attacked the Swans man. I know Precious attacked Granddad and Grandma Bergen and also Grandma Agnes. Now, I'll tell you one thing. You know, they talk about how animals got instincts. Says anybody that could hate Grandma Bergen and Grandma Agnes, there's something wrong with that, because they are the nicest folks that ever walked upright and took in oxygen. Anyhow, so, but Precious, she was an attack cat, and I don't know that she attacked. I don't know that she bit or scratched anyone else, but I know that she didn't take too much to those folks, and there might have been other folks, but I don't know who they be. And so I'm running out of stuff to talk about. I guess, but I hope. And again, and Shanna, I hope that if you listen to all this, God bless you. Because when I told you I see the whole thing about the high C thing. I told her I was going to do that, so I will be tagging her in one of the comments on Facebook, because we is friends on Facebook, and I'm gonna let her know about this. And I don't know, I know she'll start out listening, and hopefully, you know, if she made it this far, like I say, God bless her, because it's not this is well, seems when I get started, I just can't stop. But anyhow, it was, and I might, as long as we're running here, I'll let you know. Her husband Brad, I hope I'm remembering his name right, because I didn't write this down. Her husband Brad is Lexi Glanzer's cousin, because of course Grandma Kate is her grandma too. So so they both. And, you know, Kate was a sweet lady, and you know, hopefully she still is, but she'd have to be way on up there in years. I have not seen her in years, but I hope that you know, I hope wherever Grandma Kate is, she's happy, because she's a sweet woman. And like I said, we were I think anything more we got to say before I shut this off. So I should mention that Lexi Glanzer, she's been married a couple of times. There was that Williams fella, and there was a Skinner in there somewhere. Right now she's married to a fella whose name is Westfall. And that's some of the Kennedys I know have relations called Westfalls. I don't, you never know. Y'all could be cousins to her too. Anyhow, yes, let's get this to bed, and God be with you. Do the best you can, and get out of my bathroom.